But he ultimately leaves decisions up to people who are free to make choices. And so human rulers, no matter how powerful, ultimately cannot fulfill their intentions in opposition to God's purposes. Adolf Hitler failed. He failed miserably in his ultimate goal. Mussolini failed miserably in his ultimate goal. Alexander the Great failed miserably in his ultimate goal. Napoleon failed miserably. You can go right down the counts of history, and all these folks who sought to be dictators and tyrants and all these things, all of them failed miserably. Why? Because they're not going to thwart the direction of God and the plan of God, regardless of what they do, how heinous it may be, and how desperate they may be, how much of a despot they may be, or how much of a tyrant they may be, or how insidious they may be, or anything else you can mention, any other adjective you want to think of to describe them. No matter how wicked they become, they are not going to stop God's ultimate plan. That's why they will ultimately all fail. Oh, they may enjoy some season of success in whatever endeavors they want to do, or they may count it success for them. But I'm here to tell you that success is doomed to fail at some point. It's doomed to come to a close. And so human rulers absolutely cannot ultimately fulfill their intentions if those intentions are in opposition to God's purposes. Ain't gonna happen. The new Egyptian ruler here, the Pharaoh here, sought to limit Israel's power and privileges. He ended up preparing the way for educating God's chosen deliverer. We're going to see more of that. I won't get into that right now. It's phone calls time, but we're going to see that as we move along. God used this. How many of you know God will even use dictators to fulfill His ultimate purpose? They won't even realize they're being used in His plan at the time, in His hands. They won't even realize it. That's why the psalmist said, "The heart of the king is in the hand of God." The heart of those rulers, they don't, whether they realize not, whether they even want to acknowledge it or not, their heart's in His hand. God wants to stop that heart, He can do it instantly. He wants to withdraw that breath, their heart is in His hand. Their entire being, body, soul, and spirit is in His hand. And nothing, they are, many of them even made a proclamation. They didn't make a proclamation. They thought this of themselves. Or many of them even made a proclamation down through the centuries that I am a God now. And about as soon as they get those words out of their mouth, God shows them who's God. God reveals to them who God is. And then they realize quick, fast, and in a hurry, it ain't them. Amen. Verse 20, 21, I'm going to close out on. God blesses those who are responsive to Him and to His will. Verse 20 says, "Therefore God dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and grew very mighty. And so it was, because the midwives feared God, that He provided households for them." Hallelujah. He dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and became very strong because He dealt well with them. And because the midwives, that translation is they revered and they feared God, He made them households of their own. Hallelujah. Because the midwives followed the inner promptings of God to spare the Hebrew male children, the male babies, God blessed them with families of their own. Because the midwives, to a large degree, didn't have their own families. They were just helping other people with their families. But He blessed them with their own families. And God's grace always reaches out to bless in some way, somehow. Those who are obedient, those who are faithful to God. Listen, God is not, He's not an automatic blessing dispenser. I never want to paint that picture of God. He's not an automatic blessing dispensing machine. That's not how He operates. He can't be manipulated. Too many people nowadays, especially even people in the pulpit, try to use Scripture to even manipulate God. God cannot, will not be manipulated. None of those things. But and we shouldn't think that our good works by God's favors. They don't. But I will say this. God does bless those who respond favorably to him. Again, he blesses principle. He honors principle. He honors and blesses those who respond favorably to him. These midwives stood up to Pharaoh. And listen, Pharaoh could have decided right then to lop all their heads off. When they stood up to us, well, first of all, they told us that these Hebrew women, they don't like these Egyptian women. These Egyptian women, they raised in soft, luxurious refines and stuff, and they're soft. These Hebrew women tough. It says they're lively. That's how to word for it. They're lively.